So going back, who exactly was Eduardo?
So Eduardo Saverin, was basically in the rooming group with Zuckerberg. He was his friend. Eduardo came from a wealthy Brazilian family, and had actually come to America, and his family moved to Miami because of kidnapping threats. Down in Brazil, they kidnap rich kids, and so his family had moved him there. So he had some money. And so when him and Mark were both very socially awkward, geeky guys. Spend any amount of time with those guys, I promise you, those are socially awkward, geeky guys. It's not hard to see. Eduardo, became a member of the Finals Club. He had wealth and connections, so he made it into the Phoenix Club. Mark couldn't get into the Phoenix Club, which was one of those old, those fraternities, basically. They're finals clubs. They go back hundreds of years. And they're basically the social life at Harvard, although that's changed since then. But anyways, Mark got upset, went out, got drunk one night, and made this website, Face Mash, where you could vote on who the hottest girl at Harvard was. He'd hacked into computer servers. He pulled up pictures of all these girls, and it leaked out all over the college campus. Got him in huge trouble. He almost got kicked out of school.
Wasn't he comparing pictures of girls to farm animals?
Yeah, so in his blog, which he kept along with the thing, and we have his blog, so we know what he was doing. He was writing, we should compare them to farm animals, all this kind of stuff. And even when he got in trouble, his argument was, well, the girls were beating the farm animals, so he shouldn't be mad. He doesn't really understand, or at the time did not understand, why it was such a bad thing to be doing. But he caught the attention of the Winklevoss twins because they were working on their own website, the harvardconnection.com, which was kind of a dating website with some social interaction in it. And so it had some of the things that did end up, I think, in Facebook, but it was more oriented towards dating and socializing. But they hired Mark. They wanted someone to work for them who knew computers. He was in the newspaper for almost getting in trouble for a computer program that went viral. So he went to work for them, blew them off, and went to Eduardo. So Eduardo had some money, and Mark went to Eduardo and said, I've got an idea for a website. People will put their own pictures up so we won't get in trouble. If you put up the money, you can be the CFO, and you can have 30%. And so Eduardo put up $1,000, which ends up being the greatest investment in the history of the world, because it turns into $5 billion. But anyways, he puts up the money, and Mark writes the code for the Facebook. And basically, it launches all over Harvard. It spreads, and it was just huge. And the Winklevoss twins, realize that they're cut out, that they're not involved, that Mark had been lying to them and leading them on. So they sued him. And Eduardo, eventually, what happens is when Facebook starts to take off, Mark moves to California, meets up with Sean Parker. And Sean was like the cool kid of Silicon Valley. Sean had started Napster when he was in high school, which, ended up getting sued out of existence, right? And then he founded something called Plaxo, which he got fired from when he was caught with cocaine. And then he became the first president of Harvard until he got caught with cocaine. So allegedly, I guess. But anyways, Sean is a wild guy, fascinating, a genius, a true genius, I think. But Eduardo did not like Sean, did not want Sean to be involved. And when Mark and Sean got together, they essentially cut Eduardo out. They left. He stayed behind in Boston to finish college. He got so upset that he froze all the bank accounts of Facebook at the time, which was all his money at the time. It was 18 grand when he froze the accounts. So they went to Peter Thiel, and that's when Peter Thiel invested $500,000, but said, who is this guy listed as your CFO? He's not even in California. He's not part of Facebook. So they cut Eduardo out. So Eduardo ended up suing as well, and that's where I came into the picture.
That's when they settled for $5 billion and he moved away.
Yeah, it's worth $9 billion now. He's living in Singapore. Well, he came back for COVID. I don't know where he is right now, but yes, I have not seen or heard from him since. So if anyone out there, give Eduardo a call and send him. He can send me a little gift basket. It would be very nice.
Yeah, that movie was beautifully shot. The cinematography in that movie was amazing. All on super tight lenses, super low light. Like it was just a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
Were you involved in that, in the shooting of that at all?
Yeah, so I was on set for a lot of it. I would say that wasn't a fun set. It was not a party. David Fincher, Scott Rudin, who was a producer, Aaron Sorkin, and Kevin Spacey, who was a producer as well. It was a very big personalities in a very dark, kind of intense set. And David Fincher is absolutely incredible. And that movie, shot for shot, is beautiful. But the way he does things is very intense. I remember one scene where like a busload of girls pulls up to a finals club and these girls get out of the bus. And that's all the scene is. It's like a 5 seconds of scene. And he shot it from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. just over and over and over again for 12 hours. And like, I don't even know what he's looking for. I don't know what it is he's seeing. But when it's on screen, it's perfect. But he really, I mean, that's how he shoots a movie. So it was really intense. But I was there. Yeah, it was wild. It was incredible. And I remember, you know, the first time you read the script, it was like, wow, that's an amazing script. And then the first time you sit in the movie and the movie opens and it's a conversation and it goes on for 10 minutes and it's brilliant. It's intense and it's incredible. As you say, it's dark, and you wouldn't expect a movie about Facebook to be that. I remember when they came to me with the title, they were like, we're going to call it The Social Network. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a good title. I mean, that doesn't even say anything. But now when you watch the movie, it's actually a perfect title, because the idea was, it wasn't really about Facebook. It was something much bigger than that. And it was really a character study between Mark and all of these other people. And also about this massive change in all of our lives with dark undertones. And I feel like what's happened since then has only made that movie more and more true. You know, Mark has become more and more the character from The Social Network, and Facebook has become more and more what he created then. And so I feel like Fincher and Sorkin really captured something very true that, you know, 10 years later feels very real to me.
Yeah, it's creepy how accurate that turned out, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, Mark, everything Mark's done since then, you can see the underpinnings of in how he dealt with his friends and how he dealt with people who were involved with the project, or you know, and what his goal is all the time, and sort of this kind of darkness in a way that hopefully will slowly recede.
Yeah, a lot of people think he's an alien.
I mean, I don't think he's an alien. I think he's a genius, for absolutely brilliant guy. But I do think he thinks of the world differently than we do. I think he really, really thinks if we were all on Facebook all the time, sharing everything with no walls between us, it would be a better world. And that if data were free, if we were living in this Facebook village, you know, but at the same time, there's a little bit of control issues. You know, he knows that he's right and everyone else is wrong. And whenever Facebook does something and everyone is angry about it, he wades through it. And then in the end, we all give up. So maybe he is right. But you know, over and over again, they've done things to upset people and just push through. And that, I think that speaks to Mark's character, is that he believes what he's doing is correct. And that's why he's retained total control. And you know, even when it's pointed out that what he's doing may not be correct for everyone, he sticks with it until he really, really needs. So I don't know how much better anything will ever get in that world.
So how did you eventually come to meet the Winklevoss?
The Winklevoss, yeah. So I reached out after Eduardo came to me, and I was looking for sources. I found them on Facebook. I'd seen an article somewhere that they were suing, but I didn't really know much about why or what was really going on. So I reached out and I met with them in New York. And, you know, they walk into the room and it's like something out of Greek mythology. You know, it doesn't look real. They look like they were invented on a Hollywood set. Because, you know, they're 6'5" identical twin Olympic rowers. They at the time, they were still in training. So they ate the same, they worked out the same, they were the same. And they're physically intimidating guys, and they come from a privileged background of immense wealth and you know, that sort of thing. So you immediately think they've got to be the bad guys in the story. Because, you know, I grew up in the 80s, and every 80s movie, they were the bad guys. You know, they were the ones dressed up in skeleton costumes chasing the Karate Kid around the gym. And so immediately you think Mark's the good guy and they're the bad guys. But you kind of know Mark's not the good guy, because you also know how people have reacted to him, how he's dealt with people around him. There's this kind of angry nerd thing going on there. And so it was a nuanced story. But originally when I met the Winklevoss twins, I was definitely in awe of them. Just because of what, you know, who they were. But they were the guys who were suing Mark for stealing their idea. And that's all they were at that time. They were angry, very angry. They had, even though they had settled with Mark, they wanted to throw out the settlement because it was never about money for them. They didn't care about money. That's one of the cool things about the whole social network story. Nobody cared about money in that story. Mark never cared about money. Money was meaningless to him. He became one of the richest men in the world, but never cared about money. When he was in high school, he came up with an idea. Microsoft had offered him $1 million for it, and he turned it down because he just didn't care. He said, I'll give it away for free. And that's the guy who created, Facebook. Eduardo didn't really care about making money because he came from a wealthy family. He just wanted to prove something to his family. The Winklevoss twins didn't care about making money because they came from a wealthy family. Only Sean Parker really cared about making money. So that's kind of cool about that story. But anyways, the Winklevoss twins.
He was kind of like the snake oil salesman of the story, right?
Well, that's how Eduardo described him. I mean, Eduardo did not like Sean. He really thought he was just trying to sell something. And Sean, Justin Timberlake captured the character perfectly. And I think Sean became more and more like Justin Timberlake after the movie came out.